Yo guys, it's Mighty, and in this video I want to talk about the two best control and balance mouse pads that I've ever tried on the market. These are of course the WALLHACK SY and MO, and these two are amazing. I've really enjoyed my time playing on both of these over the last few weeks, and I really do think you guys should try them out. I did of course buy these pads with my own money, so all of my thoughts and opinions are my own. And I do have a creator code, so if you guys do want to check out these mouse pads, you can either use code MIGHTY or the referral link down in the description below and save 10% off on the mouse pad. The first mouse pad I'll be talking about is the WALLHACK MO001. This is a more balanced mouse pad and does have pretty decent dynamic and static friction. I do notice that in game when I am going for larger swipes or overall larger movements, and I do see that little bit of friction when it comes to moving my mouse, as well as the friction that stops my mouse from moving. It is pretty nice in tracking focus games, especially when I play 15cm warzone. I do like that little bit of control. The surface is 490 by 430, the same size as the SY004, the same size as the SP004, and I do think this is a pretty good size. I know a lot of people critique the size for being a little bit taller than normal, but I think that the added centimeter in height makes it probably the perfect size for me. I do still like 490 by 420 pads better, but I'd say this isn't too, but this definitely is not too far off from that. The surface is also very slightly textured. I say this texture level is something like A's Aqua Control Plus, with that pretty harsh and definite grain that you do feel on your skin and on your mouse skates, depending on what kind of skates you use. For me, since I like the softer jade dots, I hardly notice the skate texture both on this pad and the SY. When it comes to the actual feel, I don't think that this is too textured by any means, and I wouldn't say this is rough. Another big thing I was worried about when I did hear that this pad was textured was how it would be with sleeves. Every other texture pad I own, they don't work at all with arm sleeves, and it's basically impossible for me to use those pads since I do like to use arm sleeves. But with this pad, I don't know what they did to weave it, but there is zero friction at all between the arm sleeve and the pad. And I say this is the perfect textured mouse pad to use with a sleeve. You can definitely still feel the texture of the pad on your sleeve, but it doesn't catch at all. And it's a very effortless, smooth glide. The actual glide of this is very audible on your sleeve, and you can definitely hear it. If you don't like to hear your sleeve run against your mousepad, this definitely isn't for you, since it is very audible when you do make those large swipes across your pad. You will definitely hear the sleeve. Coming over to the stitching of the pad, this stitching is absolutely incredible. I say it's just a hair underneath Artisan's quality. The stitching is very slightly underneath surface level, and it's very compact. I do really like the stitching, and I've had no problems with it fraying or any type of wear on the sleeves or any type of wear on the stitching at all in use. It's extremely high quality, and big props to WALLHACK for perfecting the stitching. When you do lay it flat on your desk, you definitely don't feel it moving around in game, but if I try to do the one finger method or try to move it from the sides, this pad doesn't really stick like an X-Soft pad would. But since it's not an X-Soft pad and it's more of a soft 4mm based pad, I'd say it's pretty good for how it sticks to my desk, and I've had no issues with this pad sliding around on me at all. One pad that I think that the MO compares very similar to in the overall speed and properties is the Neptune and Neptune Pro from Lethal Gaming Gear. Both of these pads have pretty similar dynamic and static friction, and they're overall pretty similar to use in game, and I overall enjoy my time on both of them pretty similar. The Neptune is definitely less textured and a lot smoother than the MO. When it comes to the overall properties, as well as the density of the pads, they are very similar. This Neptune Pro I do have in soft, so that's just for comparison. The base on both these pads are also very similar, both of them use pour on. So I say they're pretty interchangeable for which pad is better and which pad you like more. The MO does have ever so slightly more dynamic friction, but they both have very similar properties of static friction. The next pad we'll be talking about is the SY001. The SY001 is much more of a control focused mouse pad. It has much higher dynamic and static properties than the MO. Another difference between the SY and the MO is that the SY is far less textured and a lot smoother. I say this is on the level of smoothness of something like a Saturn, and it is very nice to use in game. And I don't find that the pad catches on my arm at all when I do use it without a sleeve. Also, like the MO, this pad works very well with a sleeve, undoubtedly even better. With the sleeve, it makes a very silky and very smooth glide experience with basically none of the sleeve catching on the pad at all, and it makes a very enjoyable experience with the sleeve. Both the stitching and the base are the exact same on the MO and the SY. The big differences between those two pads are the surface, how the surface feels, as well as the friction. The main pad I'll be comparing the SY to is the Saturn Pro X Soft. The X Soft is a very similar pad. It has a lot of the same dynamic and static properties and also very similar texture. Both of them are very smooth. However, I do think that the SY has that little bit of extra texture that you may or may not like. Both the dynamic and static properties on both these pads are very similar, and I do think that they're pretty interchangeable for me, and I don't notice much of a difference when I do switch between both of these pads. One difference for me is that the Saturn Pro has slightly longer stitching and not as dense as the SY, as well as the pour on base on this pad being a little bit more sticky than on the SY. Those are the main differences. The surface feel, like I said, are very similar, and I enjoy both of these pads a lot when I do want a controlled experience. That's all for my thoughts and opinions on the MO and SY001. I do think that both of these pads are fantastic for a controlled and balanced experience. If you do want to check out these pads, I will have them linked down in the description below, so make sure you go check them out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Till next time, peace.